Ow, my back. What's up, everybody? It's me, your boy 10, aka Tess Reacts. 10 Isani Suakaja Reacts. And I'm back here with more unsolicited opinions. What am I going to be talking about today? Well, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022. I literally just finished it. It was a really short movie. It ended at an hour and 14 minutes with eight plus minutes of credits. So this is fresh and this is so clean. So, okay, this will not be a spoiler-free review. This has been out for like 2 weeks. So I feel like if you wanted to watch it, you would have watched it already. So, Texas Chainsaw Massacre stars a whole bunch of nobodies. The only face I really recognized was Jacob Lattimore, and I didn't even realize that that was him with the facial hair until I looked up the cast. It's a cast of nobodies, which let it be known that that's not a bad thing. I'm not saying that they had to be big names because they don't. I think that casting no names is can be very good. Um, and so the premise of the film, from what I've gathered, because even though I just finished watching it, the premise of the film is that Melody and her friend Dante and some other friends decide that they're going to buy a town, Harlow, Texas, um, to escape the city and like to escape violence and stuff because Melody's sister, Lila, survived a school shooting. And so she's trying to take her out of the city and find a new home for them, move down there, and basically create a safe haven, if you will. Um, so they all get up and they drive down to Texas. They're supposed to have a deed to the house, and they're having these investors come down. They have a party bus. It's a whole thing. Excuse my voice. I'm not feeling well today. I actually had to stay home from work because I was not feeling well at all today. Um, so I'm going to try to keep this short, sweet, and to the point. Excuse me. Sorry. And so Mel and Lila are our two main female characters. And also we have Sally Hardesty, I believe that's how you pronounce, from the original film. She's back. She's recasted though because the actress who played her died in 2014, but she's recasted. Um, and according to the movie, she had become like a deputy or something and spent like 40 plus years trying to find him, but couldn't find Leatherface because obviously he wears a mask over his face of human skin. Um, and so they drive to the location and they go into one of the houses, and there's a woman in the house. The woman says that this is her house, she lives here. They're like, hey, you can't be in here. We own this house now. And she's like, no, it's a mistake. I have a deed to prove that that I live here. And so, excuse me. And so, um, they try to talk to her or whatever. They, in the end, decide to get the sheriff. And when they go get the sheriff comes and they forcibly remove her. They attempt to forcibly remove her from the house. Um, we see up top of the stairs, we see an outline of a large, very large man who is, we're clued into the fact that that is Leatherface. And she's his mother, or she's the woman who's taking care of him since he was a kid. And so anyway, she ends up having like a heart attack. And so they take her to they put her into the cop cars so they could take her to the hospital. And Leatherface is with her. And Dante's girlfriend, whose name escapes me, goes with them to make sure she's okay. On the way to the hospital, she dies. And within what, Eli, like 30 seconds of her dying, he just starts killing niggas. Like within 30 seconds, he starts killing people. And so he kills the cop in the back seat, and then he kills the cop up front. Well, that cop actually gets killed by his partner because he breaks the partner's hand in half, then uses the bone in his hand to kill him. And then homeboy had his hand on a gun, and when he was moving, it shot through the driver, and the girlfriend is in the front seat. The car crashes. Car crashes. The next thing you know, um, Leatherface is behind the car, um, cutting off his mom's face to wear as a mask. And honestly, I'm not going to say much more about. I'm not giving y'all the full synopsis. It's just go on Wikipedia if you want the full synopsis. But anyway, those are the events that lead up to Leatherface starting to kill everybody left and right. So people die, obviously, and we are left with 2 survivors until we're not. Um, so I'm kind of confused. I don't know where to start with this film. I don't know if I should start with like the casting, or if I should start with um, just my feelings about it, or if I should just start with what was good about it. So, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to start on a positive note. Let's talk about what I liked about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022. The kills were pretty good. There were even points where I'm like, dang, homeboy is brutal. You know, there's a lot of overkill. I mean, he smashes one guy's head into smithereens. Like, there were some really cool practical effects in the film. So I can tell that there was a lot of talent behind those practical effects. And I like that they used practical effects as opposed to just CGI. I know they used some CGI because I could tell with, like, there's a scene where someone dies and their guts spill out, and I could tell that that was CGI guts. But then there's points where I could tell that they used practical effects. So I really thought that the practical effects were really, really good, and I think that the kills were really, really good. Um, what else did I like about the movie? It was pretty, like, nice cinematography. It wasn't too dark. I hate when films are just like too dark and I can't see anything. Um, yeah, the set design was pretty good. Um, I think that's it. I think those are the only 2 things I liked about the film were the kills and the cinematography. Um, let's talk about what I didn't like about the film. Everything else. So let's start with our characters. What the fuck? These characters, there was not one likable character on screen. Not one. All of them were underdeveloped, unlikable. They were nice to look at. They were eye candy. But when it comes to, like, did I care if either of them died? No. The only comment I made was that I hate that Black people are in these films because they don't survive. And of course, Homeboy did not survive. Um, and so the characters were just lackluster. There was like no character development, like none. We just know that there are these influencers who come down and try to open up a town as a safe haven of some sort. Um, our main character, Lila, she's supposed to be our final girl. She was really unlikable. I get why she went through a super traumatic experience, but like, you still have to be likable for us as like watchers, as people who are watching the film, we want to be able to root for you. And I wasn't really rooting for anybody, not even Leatherface. Like sometimes characters are so unlikable, I start rooting for the bad guy, but I don't even root for Leatherface because Leatherface was underdeveloped too. Um, Despite the fact that Leatherface has never had the huge of a personality or even a big origin story or a good origin story, the fact that he was so underdeveloped was just like like they had one job, was to develop characters. One job, and they failed miserably. Um so the character development is probably my least favorite part. The characters were, like I said, they were lackluster. The acting was not the worst thing I've ever seen, but certainly not the best thing I've ever seen. I don't know. Some of these actors, I looked up like all the actors on Wikipedia. Some of them have been acting for a while, but I would have thought that this was everyone's first film because the acting was just so like bare minimum that I was just like scratching my head the whole time because I just didn't feel any connection to any of these characters. I didn't. Um the story the story was absolutely ridiculous. I'm sorry. I think that's my main issue with the film. It made no goddamn sense. So this girl survives a mass shooting and her sister decides, I want to try and build an area where there's no violence, away from violence and away from like all the bad things in the world. So let's move to Harlow, Texas, so that we can escape violence and guns. Sis, Harlow, Texas, middle of nowhere. And you thought you was going to escape something. In Harlow, Texas. Specifically, Texas. Texas, one of the biggest gun states out there. Like, sis, sib, homie. No. It made no sense. The film made no sense. The the fact that they were even down there, like everything leading up to the beginning of the film makes no sense. Like, and then like she went through this really traumatic thing, but we don't know much about that thing. We just know that she went through a traumatic excuse me, y'all. She's a survivor of a mass shooting, but that's it. She has a scar. And that's really it. That's all we know about her. The That's her whole personality trait, is that she's traumatized, which is fine. But we don't know anything else about her. We don't know anything else about like even their sibling relationship. Cause like they're sisters, but like were they sisters? Because the way that they acted, you would think they were really close, but they were like bitchy towards one another for a good portion of the film. Now, that doesn't mean that just because you're bitchy with your sibling that you don't love them, because that's not what I'm saying. But like, I don't know, I didn't get that whole like sibling vibe from these two, from the two actresses. And I don't know, maybe that's just because the actresses didn't have that type of chemistry. Um, but I just didn't see it with those two. Um, Bringing back Sally could have been really good. Um, and the actress who played Sally, I mean, I have no problems with her. And please recognize, I'm about to expose myself, but please recognize, I've never seen the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but I've seen so many reviews and read so many fucking reviews and seen so many videos on it that I might as well have watched it. Okay? So before you come for me, I know my shit. Okay? So bringing Sally back, one of his only survivors, that could have been really cool, and it could have been something that was like kind of in the grain of like Halloween, 2018's Halloween that came out a couple years ago, where like Lori's the only survivor and she's like wanting to kill Michael if Michael comes back and all that stuff. Like it could have been a really cool idea, but they just didn't utilize her. And like I said, the actress, I didn't have any problems with the actress who played her because out of everybody in the film, she was one of the strongest actors. That's not saying a lot, but she was one of the strongest actors. But they didn't give Sally anything to do. Even like her final scene, her final fight scene, like you couldn't give her a better send off than that. Like if you're gonna kill an iconic character, you can't even give her a better send off than that. Like, come on, y'all, do better. Um, the film just, I mean, I probably could have just summed this up um, in one sentence, but the film sucked. I want my hour and 14 minutes back. I kept sitting here and waiting for something good to happen or waiting for something like um to be like, ooh, that's different from what I've seen before, but it's not. And it's really weird because I know that the writer um who wrote it did the Evil Dead remake, and the Evil Dead remakes is one of my favorite films. That is how you do a remake, is what they did with Evil Dead. And he also wrote Don't Breathe, which is another one of my favorite films. Um, so I was quite surprised by how lackluster this was. It had all like the elements of those films, especially like Evil Dead. It was super bloody. Everything was like times 10. But it just wasn't interesting enough. If you're going to reboot a dead horse, because at this point, stop rebooting these classic horror films. If we're going to reboot a dead horse, at least do something different with it. And they're not doing anything different. Um, I don't know. If I had to give it a score out of 10, I would give it a 4.2. I was going to say 4.5, but it's not worth that extra 3 points. A 4.2. And the only reason it's even that high is because of the two things I mentioned earlier, which was like I like the kills, um, and I like the cinematography. If not for that, I would have given it like a 2.5 out of 10. From like an A to B scale, like A, B, C, D scale, I'd give it a C minus because they could have left this one in the drafts, to be completely honest. They could have left it in the draft. I will say I did like the ending. They did give us a twist ending that I did not see coming. So I'll give them, I'll give them one more point for that. So 4.3 out of 10. But other than that, I wouldn't recommend you watch it unless you just want to buy time. Some people like just having films where they can leave in the background, and this is a good like background film. Um, there's a chance that they're going to do more sequels. I actually hope that they don't do any more sequels. I think that as a horror fan, I'm tired of seeing the same um, premise like redone, 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 and redone. Let's give Texas Chainsaw Massacre a good 30-year break before we do another movie. I want to be 50 or 60 before I see another Texas Chainsaw Massacre film. Thank you very much. All right, y'all. I'm just going to cap it right there. We kept it at like 19 minutes. That's not bad. Uh, Thank you for sitting here and listening to my unsolicited opinions. I got to get out of here. I'm tired. I'm tired. Um, all in all, not my favorite, but you watch it and you can, if anybody's watched it, you're welcome to comment and tell me how you felt about it. Um, but I got to get out of here. I'm gonna go. You can check out some more of my videos. I'm gonna leave some links in the description, and I hope y'all stay gay. Goodbye.